the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweedy, Matthew Johnson, Nick Thomas, and Lynn Dudgeon. Welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I'm your host, Joe Tweeden, and joining me tonight is a sassy group of individuals. Two at the moment. We'll see if the fourth one shows up later. Who knows? Ooh. But joining me on either side of the table at the moment, over the Ethernet, we have the Nick Thomas. How are you, sir?
Fantabulous.
Oh dear. Already making references. Hashtag what?
Oh.
And throwing it over to the other side of the table tonight, we have the Lynn Dudgeon.
Hello, back again.
There he is.
Hey,
always,
guys.
Always fresh and frosty. Yes, Nick, you want to add something right now? Go for it.
I just got to say, I love you guys.
Oh, Nick.
And happy freaking Valentine's Day.
Holy.
That's interesting, because, I mean...
It was yesterday.
Okay, at the time of the recording it was yesterday, and then when we post this, it's going to be like 3 days late.
That's okay.
But, you know what? Fair enough.
They know the difference.
Love is in the air.
Let us all wish our viewers who come back week to week know that we are in the know. And that, yes, this was the week of love.
But more importantly, happy 70% off chocolate day.
Ooh. I can dig it.
Is that what happened on Valentine's Day?
Day after.
You know what? Even better, because
mint.
that's when I plan on buying my sweetheart her favorite chocolate. Also, guys, welcome to Nerdcast episode 80. Way to, celebrate
The big 8-0.
the 8-0 on such a crazy time of the year. February 14th, for all you in the not know. Or are you in the know?
February. And it's, what year is it? Something, it's Oregon's anniversary, too?
Trinity.
What is it?
Yeah. February 14th is the anniversary of Oregon.
Becoming a state?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I've been here my whole life and did not know that. Yeah, hashtag we live in Oregon, or at least two of us do.
Nerd.
Sorry, Lynn. Lynn used to live in Oregon. We'll leave him alone for now. But interesting. Did you know that, Lynn?
Nah, dog.
Nah, dog?
Dog.
Are you getting real with me right now?
I never lived in Oregon. I only ever lived in Washington.
Oh, my bad, dude.
Yeah.
We are so close with the
Oregon
bridge.
joined the Union February 14th, 1859.
Wow. 1859. So 1959 plus a few years. Wow, we're like at 150 years since the day.
I did know.
I'm not good at math.
I did know your statehood, although I never did live in your state.
Hashtag truth. But no one knew that prior to this recording, so you know what, to each his own. Who cares? Lynn was never an Oregonian, and yes, that's how you say it. Hashtag don't hate if you live in Oregon.
How do you say if somebody who lives in Washington?
You might say Oregonian, but
no, it's Washingtonian.
Oregonian?
Washingtonian. Ooh.
They also put R's where they're not needed. Washington, for instance. Anyway, let's get to the episode at hand, guys.
And your quick trivia for the day. In Washington, you're allowed to marry your horse as long as it's of legal age.
Yep. You can also marry a pine.
Allowed to marry what?
A pine cone? That's still in the books as far as I know.
A what?
A pine cone. It's still in the books as far as I know.
Sorry, our internet connection may have cut you off each time you said pine cone. I apologize.
Kitty,
But-
kitty, kitty.
You know what? That being said, now that there's enough
But-
localized
Jim.
facts about our show,
Yeah.
and
Hey,
Lynn-
Joe,
Lynn
can we
has a
get on with
cat.
the episode?
What?
I am. Let's go.
Did you
Come
just,
on, man.
Did you just drop one of the longest F-bombs in the history of our podcast right now?
Maybe.
Man.
Oh,
That-
that's
Wow.
gonna be a long bleep.
I don't
I'm
know
sorry,
if I
folks.
have
Eventually,
enough.
we'll start our episode.
I'm going to
but-
have to copy paste the bleep because that's going to require an extra long one.
Yippee. This is the best ever.
All right. Well, you know what? We're already in it. We're already here. Guys, this is podcast episode 80. We've finally reached Euphoria. 80. And what do we promise to bring with 80? A typical Movie Matters episode. Guys, let's get to it. Boom! Movie Matters. Welcome to Movie Matters, guys. We've got very minimal to talk about news-wise. We did promise some reviews in our past recording, which might be 2 weeks gone now at this point. But you know what? We're still in February. Let's get to it. Apologize for the sounds. Let's get into the only topic at hand that was kind of sort of interesting that I kind of wanted to throw out there just to generate a brief discussion. Kind of curious what you think, Lynn and Nick.
I have to have an opinion. No.
I mean, I think our podcast is filled with opinions, most often by us, including you, Lynn. So, yeah, you have an opinion as far as I'm concerned. But
Okay, let's go.
all right.
What is it?
That being said, what do you guys think about the idea that Disney drops Fox, the name Fox, from the title of studios for 20th Century Studios? From pictures, the Fox Searchlight picture poster of new films like Downhill and Call of the Wild, which are recent cinema picks. They will now be called Searchlight Pictures. This is a little bit of old news, kind of expected from my personal opinion as a hot take, but what do you guys think? And here's an interesting little side note, just add this to the conversation. I watched, me and Nick did a reaction video to the New Mutants movie trailer that came out, because guess what? Disney still is going to put that out in cinemas after all the discussion around it and the 2-year delays and the reshoots and is it going to become something, right? So we got to it and we looked at it. When I got on YouTube and looked up the trailer for the New Mutants
On the Tube's View.
it said 20th Century Fox still, like the original moniker that it's known as. However, when I turned over to, I think, the Harrison Ford, is he in the Call of the Wild? Is that the right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, when I turned over to the Harrison Ford-led film Call of the Wild, which is also being produced by Disney previously under the Fox title, it just said 20th Century Studios, and they cut out the Fox name. In the titles, in the video, everything on the same YouTube channel that had the New Mutants. The New Mutants, however, was still tagged as being a 20th Century Fox film. I want to get your hot takes both on why are they doing that, what do you think about that, and how do you feel about that? Do you care? Do you not care? Welcome, Kitty, to the channel. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you will see Lynn has a beautiful black cat on screen. But let me throw it over to you, Nick. Hot take opinion, them dropping Fox from the title, good, bad, and how do you feel about it?
I'm surprised it took this long for them to do it.
Right? So
Yeah,
it's
it makes
expected
sense.
in
They
your opinion.
purchased it. Fox is still technically open, just not under that studios. because they're now purchased by Disney, but Fox still has their sportscasting network and all that stuff.
Well, okay,
It
that's
only made
separate though.
sense.
That like the sportscast, that whole center, that's a separated division of Fox.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Since they still carry the name Fox, I'm surprised it took
Right.
them this long to drop the name Fox from their titles.
True. And I don't have the notes here. Just a little side note. I may cut it if it's not appropriate because I don't know enough info about it. But Fox recently posted, and I do not like talking about politics and religion on our channel because that's a very mixed bag of feelings. We try to stay neutral and just talk about media. But isn't it correct that Fox recently had a little bit of a political stance that caused, I might be incorrect, maybe you can Google search
Well,
it,
not really recently, but they've
over
they're very
time.
conservative, and Hollywood in general is very liberal.
Right, Disney is operatively conservative while still trying to be inclusive to, the modern perception of social
Mm.
aspects of life. But as far as companies are concerned, I thought there was a little bit of that was kind of the reasoning too behind Disney separating from the Fox name recently. Not just because they own
It
that
could be.
division.
They if they're being toxic, it'll be a point where they would want to distance themselves as much as possible. Not saying that I feel that they're being toxic, but
No, but Disney tries to be pretty neutral and conservative overall because they are a family-friendly brand. And, when other companies get in the arena of politics or religion, that's kind of like an automatic turn away for Disney. They're very socially adaptive. Like, when we talk about gender equality, just general feelings of human acceptance, that's very much Disney's bag of tea. But when it comes to like political, perspectives, Disney tries to stay away from it, I think. And
yeah.
and I think that's kind of reflected on this, but in a more general sense, I think you and me both agree they pulled Fox out of the title because they own it now and they want to be. But controversial, like I mean, Lynn, you're holding the hand out like you agree with that, but let me throw this out there as a counterpoint. Guess what? They kept Marvel Studios. They didn't call it. You know what I mean? They didn't make some weird name for Marvel. They left Marvel Studios as Marvel Studios under the banner of Disney. Disney's
Well, because
Marvel
they own
Studios.
Marvel completely.
It wasn't, I
Not when they.
wasn't holding my hand out for any reason. I was playing with the cat. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Lynn. Didn't mean to call you out. I'll finish out my point real quick and then I'll
Oh,
toss it
you're
to
good.
Lynn, or I'll let
You're good.
Nick finish and then toss it to you. But like, I guess the point I'm making is, when they first bought out Marvel, they did not have the entirety of the division, as far as I know. Like as far as like the comic book industry, Marvel Comics and Marvel like movie studios were sort of separate at one point, I guess. I mean, do you agree or disagree? Not based on facts you're reading in front of you, but I'm pretty sure they didn't have the entirety of Marvel when they first bought up part of them. You're shaking your head no, Lynn. So do you have the knowledge or memory of it?
I'm fairly certain that they didn't have all of Marvel because certain aspects of it, like the X-Men and Spider-Man, were under certain ownerships.
Okay, so a side
Yes.
point, yes, no, like a side point I want to point out is the comic books. I think the comic book studio of the Marvel division was separate because, but they were affected by the MCU because at one point Disney didn't tell the Marvel comic book industry to stop making X-Men comic books, but they did inherently stop making them at some point because of the controversy with Fox owning X-Men. I don't know the whole landscape of that. We're kind of getting into the weeds here right now on the topic. Um, let you know what we can come back to this and have a deeper discussion about that. I think comic book fans would appreciate that if we had a little more background knowledge on that.
Well,
Unless you guys know the full layout of what happened, maybe we should just get
no.
back to the topic at hand, which was Disney
Well,
dropping the Fox name.
that's where I was trying to go to, is that maybe it was certain aspects of the storytelling, as far as like the Harrison Ford movie, that Disney would rather have more association with, as opposed to other aspects of said superhero or comic book movie relations associated with the brand.
Right, since Mutants is
So,
so heavily vested in the name Fox, like when you hear of a Fox movie,
well,
you think
not even
mutants.
not even necessarily Fox, but like they don't necessarily, like, if there's violence or certain other aspects, they don't want the Disney name associated with that violence. Whereas the Harrison Ford movie is, that heartfelt, gut wrenching, tear jerking type movie that Disney's known for,
Like
that
Old Yeller,
that
right?
you're more associated with. So that's why the name change was there. I don't necessarily know for 100% if that's the fact, but that might be one leading aspect that goes towards that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 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 Balto. Do you remember that movie, the Alaskan,
Yeah,
the movie about the dogs and the sleds and all that? That
yeah.
was that was one of those things where it's one of those heartfelt movies. Not that somebody else owned it, but in relationship to this movie, it's kind of one of those, we want to give a callback to that, and it's gonna tear jerk no matter what somebody. So let's associate it with the Disney movie, not the Fox. Well, not Disney movie, but the Disney brand, and not the Fox brand. So let's give it the Searchlight
Mm-hmm.
name.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably what maybe the leading factor was. So, and as from a marketing standpoint, that is a, a Disney route to go. And I don't blame them for it.
And they've done it
But
in the past.
yeah, whenever you can see that moment there,
I
it
also,
makes
I
sense.
also, I agree with you, Lynn. I also feel like their choice to not change the link to 20th Century Fox under the New Mutants trailer, even though it just came out literally around the same time as the Harrison Ford film. I think the reason they didn't change the labeling is possibly because it's a 2 year old project that fans have been kind of following and looking for and connecting with the X-Men films from the past, that
Oh,
for searchability they kept the 20th Century Fox label in it, so when you look up YouTube and you search 20th Century Fox mutants, or you type in New Mutants, you're going to see that label still until Disney's ready to completely sever the old mutant connection until they make MCU versions of the mutants. You know what I mean?
okay. In that same aspect, I don't think you'll ever see a Deadpool movie with the Disney logo on it.
No,
It's forever
no.
it's forever going to be a 20th Century Fox thing.
Well,
And I think
or in this
that's
case,
one thing
20th
they'll
Century Pictures,
probably.
which is what they're switching. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you know what I mean. Like they're dropping the Fox name aside. Yeah, they're not going to put Disney title to it, but Deadpool will probably
Oh,
still be called 20th Century Pictures.
even not even just related to Deadpool, even the more darker Marvel,
Yeah,
MCU movies will be tied to, not Disney. They'll try to separate
yeah.
themselves from the Disney label on those movies unless they are family wholesome, or,
Well, fair
the
fair enough.
guideline,
Yeah.
the things that they strive for with the Disney name. So
Perfect.
they'll
Yeah.
push
Perfect point. Yeah.
they'll push those other aspects towards the 20th century name, or the Fox brand, as opposed to the Disney name.
Right.
And
So
and that
yeah.
that's fine, because that might be the line in the sand where consumers see, hey, it's not a Disney movie, so it's going to be something that I might enjoy a little bit more than, Frozen 2.
Right.
I'll go out, this is going to be something action packed and, have that more adult humor that I'm looking for,
And
as
you,
opposed to,
you know
something.
what's funny? Regarding that perception of Disney versus things outside of Disney, Fox, not Fox. With I feel like what they've done a good job with regarding like the Marvel ownership is that they've been able to establish a clear separation. Like, yeah, we get the tiny little Disney title there in some cases of advertising where it says Disney's Marvel, but by and large, when you go to Disney Plus and you're under the Marvel section, there's no dramatic indication aside from the fact that you're in the app of Disney Plus. When you're in the Marvel section, there's nothing super noticeable or distinct that says Disney Marvel this, Disney Marvel that. You just see Marvel in bold letters by and large in the streaming service. So, and I know this because I was surfing that, like, shout out to Matt, one of our co-hosts here, was talking about a few canceled projects under the Marvel TV license that used to exist before Disney owned all of it and Kevin Feige was put in leadership of it. Titles like The Runaways, like Hulu releases that came out where we got The Runaways, Cloak and Dagger. We've got not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., although that's in the same category, but we also got The Inhumans, which is a very sadly failed series. Matt was making the cry, oh, I hope Disney can rectify or revive some of these shows, because all of those shows are on Disney Plus right now. I sampled the pilot of Inhumans on Disney Plus. I was like, this is so cool, from someone who completely, like, kind of avoided those secondary shows. Not intentionally avoided, but I kind of just never got into any of them. I know there's a lot of bad heat on the Inhumans. These shows, in my opinion, based on what we've heard through the media, were canceled for decent reasons. But to Matt's plight, it's true. I'm like, okay, under the Disney label now, and they're showcased on the streaming service, I still see them as Marvel properties, not necessarily completely tied to Disney only. That makes it, I don't know. I'm kind of making my point convoluted a little bit, but like, I hope to see.
No, I get it. They
I,
associate themselves with things that they see as a success, or things that fit within the Disney slash PG plus.
Okay, right. Example of two series I haven't seen, and listeners, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, or you guys, if you've seen otherwise, correct me if I'm wrong. But I haven't seen. There's two Fox shows that I haven't seen on Disney Plus yet. Legion, which was a little more psychological and adult, and I haven't seen The Gifted. Also, a little more psychological, a little more on the darker side. I haven't seen those on Disney Plus. Have you guys? I haven't looked for them, but I haven't seen them either.
If they are, then they're hidden within the caverns of Disney Plus.
Okay. You should. We can cut for a second because I hear a lot of crinkling and a weird video perspective right now from you, Lynn. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my dear friend.
No, I was saying, unless it's hidden within the caverns of Disney Plus. Oh my!
What?
You son of a bitch!
How do you see this happen? God dang it.
You're not a ninja.
Yeah, this this guy, he thinks he's a ninja.
I try.
Yeah, but it
All right.
neither of shows, if we're being honest, fit into with the guidelines of what Disney is.
Well, that's what I
Like
mean. Like,
like a
yeah, I don't know.
10-year-old or younger can't sit down and watch either of those shows. Like if
No,
you know,
like I kind of agree, and like I would actually expect them to like stay on or be on Hulu because Disney does have like 80
or
plus percent leadership control of Hulu. They don't own Hulu completely, but they have a lot of opportunity to put some of that more adult things on Hulu if they wanted to.
or if they did like an Adult Swim type thing where they
Right.
only showed darker, more inappropriate things on said spin-off channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at you,
Yeah.
Comedy Central. I mean,
Hell yeah. Hey,
Cartoon Network.
guys, I wanna throw this out there. We're 27 minutes into the official episode. Any final thoughts? This is the only heavy, like, real news. It's kind of old news
Yeah.
now. Any final thoughts?
I just got to say this marks the end of an era. 20th Century Fox was born in 1935 as a merger between 20th Century Pictures and Fox Films. That's an 85-year-old Hollywood tradition that is now gone.
Crazy amount of time, dude. Like, there's definitely a history there for sure.
We got to roll back the remembrance footage of all the titles that ran through there. I will say you will be very sad if you do go through that entire list.
Of titles that were and are no longer?
The 20th Century Fox under that brand, you will be very sad.
The ones that got canned.
Yeah. And the fact that
Oh,
Disney
yeah.
will not show some of the other ones that are in the archives because they are very inappropriate.
I mean, it's true with 85 years of filmed, like actually filmed history, 85 years of archival stuff. Like, yeah, there's a massive chunk in there that we'll probably never see again or never see the light of day due to cancellations and Disney having no interest in them. Like, truthfully. Like, when you think about it, like I like Lynn, you paint the perfect statement of, yeah, there's those that grew up with Fox, from 1935 on. Yeah, there's going to be some sad lost titles in that archive for sure.
Well, I mean, it, I don't know. There's definitely a few in there that when you go back and you realize who made those films and why they will not ever be shown again, it's kind of sad.
I mean, quick side note before we segue, Lynn, your point is well made. Disney itself actually has some historically old ideas, stories, films that will, because of the sensitivity and era, will never see the light of day. I mean, we unfortunately, perhaps in our saucy episode last week, made a reference to some of those. And I'm just gonna briefly mention this and we'll move on. I'll just get a reaction out of you guys. Hashtag Song of the South. Moving on.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like, there's some old material that's horribly inappropriate for our culture in general, horribly inappropriate for humanity in general, regardless of the time period. But in some respects, regardless of how horrible some of those things are that even Disney produced, it was a time period. It was a, I'm trying to think of the right phrasing, but it was a material of its time, I guess is the best way I could phrase it. There were horribly racial creations that were made in the industry, even in Disney, that would not be appropriate on any level in today's culture. But there's historical reasons and purpose behind when they came. It's like forgetting, like, it's, to be honest, I don't want to get super deep into this, but it's just like, African Americans, black people don't look back at their history and say, wow, what a great time, but they look back at their history to strengthen their future. They look where we came from, look where we're at now, and at the time, a lot of companies created entertainment around those aspects of racial ambiguity, of gender inequality. There's so many aspects, and this could be a separate episode entirely. I'm not trying to lead our listeners down that path.
I agree with your thoughts, but here's my thing is, do you ever see Disney re-showing or remarketing Mrs. Doubtfire or Rocky Horror Picture Show or any of the Alien franchise?
Or The Omen, The Fly.
Oh, hold up. You guys are proposing some interesting thoughts. Like, I'm not sure what you...
Any of the Predator movies.
Okay, I mean, aside from...
Okay, so what I'm throwing out there is...
What are you getting at?
Mrs. Doubtfire was 20th Century Fox. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, 20th Century Fox. The Alien franchise, 20th Century Fox. Grapes of Wrath, it's 20th Century Fox.
The Fly.
The Fly, 20th Century Fox. Cleopatra, all of that.
The Omen.
Okay,
Princess Bride.
May I make a statement? May I make a statement?
Titanic.
Okay. Okay. Well, hold up. May I make a statement?
Die Hard. Die Hard.
May I make...
Yes, go for it.
A statement. Okay, so... Of all the things you listed, your query, or your question in this moment is asking me, out of all these titles and franchises, where is Disney ever going to either repost, repromote, relist, or stream these things? Is what you're saying, right?
A lot of these things I don't see ending up on Disney Plus.
Oh, well, and here's the thing. Since Disney has taken control of these, all the people like old theaters that run old movies had to re-up their contracts with Disney, and Disney has denied every single person wanting to show those old movies by 20th Century Fox in their videos in their theaters. You can't go into a small theater that shows old movies and watch The Fly, Damien, any of those. Disney will not allow it. You will never see The Princess Bride in one of those small theaters again.
Hold on. I've got a major point to make, but explain to me The Princess Bride.
That's 20th Century Fox.
I get that, but explain to me why Disney would be so sensitive against that particular title.
It has nothing to do with sensitivity. It has to do with if they can't make money on it continuously, they're not going to allow it to be put out there.
Okay. I think that's a jump to conclusion. Lynn, what?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Before you go on your attacky, I would like to Nick's point for for Princess Bride is that I feel like that would be more Disney appropriate than like Die Hard.
Yes.
Or, like, I don't know, like The Life of Pi. That might be a little bit.
What I was getting at is Disney has always taken an approach that all their stuff on back catalog cannot be shown at an at-for-profit theater. Once it hits that backlog catalog, they don't allow it. None of their movies
Okay. Oh, the only
until it hits an actual release.
I got a larger point to make about those properties, but the short term point I will make on what you just said is the immediate point I will make to you, Nick, on what you just said about what Disney is willing to allow in indie theaters and small theaters. They're a massive multi-billion dollar corporation, and when it comes to showcasing anything that's old that's not profitable, bottom line, short term, long term catalog of anything, I think Disney is dismissive. Personal opinion, I just think, yes, Disney is being completely dismissive of anything that is classic, old, or whatever that they didn't originally pioneer from their cultivated catalog. However, I don't think Disney is so short sighted as a billion dollar corporation that they won't find a way to add this to some sort of catalog at some point. No, a lot of these titles, will they ever end up on Disney Plus? Probably not. Absolutely not. The branding would not allow it, because when you put Disney in the title, that immediately ushers in family friendly only. And to a point, there's some Marvel titles that might put that into question very, in small amounts, but like the bigger picture of Disney Plus is it's going to be a family friendly streaming service. That's why if we ever do see any sort of like historical catalog on any level of any of these franchises, we will probably either see them in two ways. One, either on their 80-90% plus ownership of Hulu, or we'll eventually see it on a secondary service that Disney eventually decides to roll out once Disney Plus becomes astronomically profitable. But I don't think Disney as a corporation is so short-sighted that they will completely bury all these titles you guys have listed, because as a corporation who is all about money, sorry listeners if you're Disney fans and you hate me for that statement, but it's true. Disney has an image, but they also have a goal behind that image. That goal is to make money regardless of the image, and the image to the broadest audience of senses is family friendly. I mean, to be honest, a lot of companies, including YouTube content and other things like that, R-rated content is always going to have a smaller audience than family-friendly PG G-rated content. Disney knows that, and so does anyone else in that. But that's not to say R-rated content can't make the money, because Logan proved it, Deadpool proved it.
Okay.
Let's find a healthy rounding out conclusion to this topic. If you want, are you okay with pausing, or do you need to lay it out?
Let me lay it out real quick. So like my point that I made, where they need to do an Adult Swim, like for Disney Plus, they seriously do. Because if Disney's so money hungry, okay, if you think about it, there are so many Bruce Willis movies, there's so many Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, not just to mention those two, but freaking, what is it? Robin Williams movies that 20th Century Fox has, that they could capitalize on the royalties of, not just to mention, being able to show those and get people to pay for subscriptions. I would, if they had like an Adult Swim for Disney Plus, I would, just for toys and Die Hard alone, I would dump money into. Because they're like, even so, like Mrs. Doubtfire or like Birdcage or like even Too Wrong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Those are some great Robin Williams movies that a lot of people don't, I don't know, even like when he was like what was that Russian one where he played like a impoverished Russian guy. I don't know. I'm fanboying over Robin Williams right now, but
It's all good.
fanboying over Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger because there's so many titles that 20th Century Fox owns that are within that, and like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live action ones, those are 20th Century Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I would pay for that too. Those are some good, that's childhood right there that I'd pay for.
Yeah.
Let's go. I mean,
Let's go.
Don't just dump it into a vault and
Good morning, Vietnam.
Right? There you go. That is a quote that no one should ever forget.
I saw the movie, man. Hashtag Robin Williams. But, I mean, hey.
That's the end of my point, is Disney needs to make something where they utilize all of the other titles and don't just let them, disappear off into ether. There are people that love those movies and those old TV shows. Let's go.
I don't know if we need to cut out reviews entirely and just like pick hot topics that generate entire episodes, but damn, we're 40 minutes into an incredible discussion. Like it's wrapped up now. We're kind of at the end of it, but we've got some hot take reviews to do. So,
do we want to do all the movies we had, or just pick a few?
I'll pick the last two and I'll make them short. Quick question.
Yes,
Nick,
11 inches around.
Okay, Nick, before we move forward, did you have any concluding thoughts on it, or should we just jump right into reviews? Okay.
Reviews.
That was Nick's cue to jump in to reviews. Guys, welcome to a review section. It's been a hot minute since we've reviewed some stuff. That last topic took longer than expected, so some of these reviews are going to come at you hot and quick. Not unlike some of our exes. Just kidding. That was an inappropriate joke that had no context to anyone in this group.
It's so sticky.
As we're all married and happy, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Good thing our wives don't listen to this. Anyway.
Walking away.
Yeah, Matt, you just got here. Hey, quick shout out to Matt. Matt arrived a little late, but he made it here for the fun of our review section. Our fellow listeners, welcome Matthew Johnson to the table. Matthew, how's it going?
Going good. How is everybody?
This is a unique occasion. Once in a blue moon, or maybe once a month, hashtag hopeful, you appear here physically, and it's makes for a lot of fun recording. No comment from the peanut gallery next to me. That's okay.
Well, I thought that was for like our personal use.
Oh my God. He just took it super personal. Okay. Guys, we have a couple films to review.
We missed you, Matt.
In our episode. The sentiments are real, Matthew. Did you hear that?
Yes, they are. I missed you guys too.
It's
only when you come up here, Lynn.
Hey.
Dutch Rudders.
I find
someone's going skiing.
I find that really inappropriate now that I know what that means after all these years. I looked it up privately like a few weeks back, and I was like, wow. Hashtag listeners, don't look that up if you're under 18, please. Please. Don't look up some of the crap we mention. Unless it's film related. By all means, this one's not. That being
said, not all films.
I mean,
not all films.
Technically,
not all films.
I got that from a film.
Do you have a title that you'd like to place the blame on?
Zack and Miri make a porno.
Yep. I was trying to think of the guy's name.
Hashtag truth. Hashtag Katherine Heigl. Hashtag Seth.
Seth Rogen.
Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Rogen. Too many Seths in Hollywood, in my opinion.
And the guy that says that is Jason Hughes.
Beautiful. Thank you for the reference.
Jay of Jay and Silent Bob.
That is his real name, actually. That being said, guys, Nick, Lynn, real quick, do you have? I know you work a lot. Are you just going to be the commentary for tonight, or do you have any recent titles you've checked out, film-wise, that were interesting or new?
Well, when you throw out the stipulation film-wise, that falls under negative. All I have is game-wise.
Hashtag beautiful. Hashtag thank you for your honesty.
So I am the relief for the evening.
Nick, I know you and me have some very specific things to cover real quick, but just for our quick fire reviews, Matthew seems to have something up his sleeve, so I want to throw it over to him for a minute. What, in the last month, honestly, since it's been that long, have you checked out?
Birds of Prey, Jumanji, The Next Level.
Let's save that first one for conversations with Nick, because he checked it out too. That's gonna kind of be our Margot Robbie screenshot on the thumbnail, according to Lynn. So go ahead. What else?
She's pretty hot.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Clickbait out the ass on this one. Yep, you're not wrong. What else?
Yes. Heyo.
Calm down, Lynn.
Actually, before just coming here, I watched Six Underground, which
Is that the Netflix one?
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds. That's actually really
Ryan
stinking good.
Reynolds.
It was really good.
Go ahead, Matthew. What do you want to talk about first? What do you got?
I can do Jumanji first.
Has anyone else seen Jumanji? I was really excited to see that one. Haven't seen it. Anyone? No?
First one, not the second one.
The second one is what he's talking about.
The Next Level.
My son went and saw it with my mom, but I haven't seen it.
Well, your son's not here, nor is your mom to review the things, so let's let Matthew.
So Jumanji: The Next Level takes place in this movie a year after the last movie. Spencer's off into college in New York. Martha is in LA, and Bethany is out wandering the world someplace. She's like,
So these are the lead
lead
kids,
characters, yeah.
the lead kids from the first one. Okay.
yeah, and then Fridge is going to college. I can't remember where, but y'all meet up for brunch, or they're supposed to meet up for brunch. Turns out Spencer grabs the Jumanji game, the whatever the thing is that got busted last time.
You're talking about like the game console that
Yeah.
they got sucked into? Yeah.
He fixes it up and gets sucked in, lo and behold. But this time there's two other people.
We have some older actors in
Yes.
question for this, right?
We have Danny DeVito and we have Danny Glover. So
I love those guys, dude. I saw the trailers. I'm interested on your take.
they were hilarious, especially Danny DeVito. Like, he plays an old, grumpy, short guy pretty damn well.
Now, which protagonist did they embody? Because I
So I
remember
started
Kevin
last.
Hart
So
was played by Danny Glover, right?
here's how it happens. So when they first get into the game, Spencer is actually a new character. He's not Dr. Bravestone. He made the game to go back into it as Dr. Bravestone, but he turned into a thief, a cat burglar,
In the
played
game?
by you have the list of
Well, we got Spencer, the actor, played by Alex Wolff.
scroll. What is her name?
Her name? Okay,
Yeah.
so
that Ming.
Ming Aquafina, who played in Crazy Rich Asians
Mm-hmm.
and in a couple recent films. She's kind of an up and coming actress.
So he gets zapped into the game as that character.
As Ming,
Yeah.
a beautiful female of Asian descent.
And then
On a side note, she does have a standalone comedy FX series.
yeah, she does.
Right?
Yes.
She is really funny. And she definitely plays Spencer and later on Danny DeVito's character pretty dang well.
She switches between both?
So in the game, once they figure out Spencer's in the game, they hit the button, they get sucked in. This time Bethany does not get sucked in. It's Danny DeVito and
Danny Glover?
Danny Glover. They get sucked in. And Danny DeVito is The Rock. Kevin Hart is Danny Glover.
Oh, which is funny because they're both short. Hashtag humor.
Fridge turns into Jack Black's character, the map person.
Yeah.
And Martha is redhead. Yeah, Ruby redhead.
Yeah. You're talking about
Ruby
Karen
Roundhouse.
Gillan?
Yeah. So they're in the game. Fridge and Ruby Roundhouse find this one place where they touch each other. They're in the water, and it's got this green tint to it, and they switch bodies. So the Fridge turns into Ruby Roundhouse, and Ruby Roundhouse turns into...
So, game mechanically speaking, this is a spot that causes avatars to switch, basically.
Yep. It's actually pretty interesting concept, and it was very funny seeing them like change their personas from
What they started as to where they ended up. How is the overall film like? Pacing, action, humor. What's your overall feelings on it?
It goes pretty much like pretty straightforward. There's not really like any like slow times. The humor is, I think, a little bit better than the last one. Just because their personas are characterized differently. And the full feel of the movie, I think, I give it an 8 out of 10. Strong. 8.
Nice.
Maybe even a 9.
Just last curious question. Where does this film take the franchise as far as the concept of being sucked into a game? Without spoiling the ending or anything, does this lead to a third #4th from the original? Is Hollywood trying to do that thing? And do you think they might succeed based on how much you enjoyed this one?
I think it definitely leads into a third movie of this.
A sequel to this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 4th movie in the series. I could definitely see it being a 6-movie saga. If they were trying to do it.
You think there's enough room for it to kind of be an ongoing thing?
Yeah, well, because the time that they come into this game, it's completely different from the last game.
I gotta see this just to see kind of what you're grabbing at here, but that's cool. So 8 out of 10 for Matthew, yeah. Lynn.
Even with any roll of the dice in Jumanji, it would be a different game than the last time you ever played it.
Yes, and
Because it's a living game.
Right.
You're a living game.
Ooh.
The game.
You're a towel.
Yeah. The ending on it.
You're
Yeah.
Robin Williams' towel.
You also have to wait for the end of the credits, too.
Hashtag
because
loincloth, sorry.
There is an end credit scene.
There's an end credit, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Hollywood picking up the MCU baggage of rhetoric. Yeah, sweet. I will absolutely check that out, Matthew, based on your recommendation. I liked the trailer enough anyway. Just haven't had time to go out to the cinemas. Before we toss it around the table, is there any other highlight you want to point out, or is that kind of your main... Before the one that you and Nick have seen, because it's kind of the main one. Anything else? Stick out nothing right now? Alright. Lynn, still nothing, right? That hasn't changed during this recording.
Let's see. How long was that talk? Not enough for a movie? Yeah, I think I'm good. We're good to pass it on.
Hashtag hard cut. I'm going to cover a couple short, quick reviews, and then I want you two, Nick and Matthew, to talk about Birds of Prey, since you were the only two that have actually seen it.
Caw.
Caw! Alright, guys. Guys, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to give you guys a couple reviews real quick, some hot takes, and then I'm going to throw it over to the big boys for the main review for tonight.
The boys.
That being said, I know, hashtag season 2 coming soon. Amazon Prime. Let's talk about it later. That's TV talk. Let's get into movie talk. Here we go. Guys, first things up. I recently watched... I'm going to throw out a quick couple hot takes. I watched a comedy special on Netflix by a comedian known as Ronnie Chang. His potentially controversial title of his special is called Asian Comedian Destroys America. But here's the thing. I think it was completely justified in a near full hour of absolute belly laughing. To be honest, it's hard for me to claim that I laughed so much that my overweight belly rumbled upon each full laugh. But Matthew, you turn away in laughter, but it's an honest statement. There's a difference between and so hard that your stomach moves, whether you're overweight or not. Hashtag no shame. But when you've got a belly laugh, you know what that feels like.
Oh, yeah.
When it hits you in the gut. So, brief description. Ronnie Chang comes from a short recent stock of humor from being featured on The Daily Show, and he was actually in Crazy Rich Asians. He's an interesting character. He takes center stage in this stand-up special and riffs on the modern American life and more. Just a few snippets to point out, like, he dives into just like the modern culture of the now, the me culture, that we get everything so easily handed to us through technology. He does a huge riff on things like Amazon Prime. I guess there's actually a feature called Amazon Now. Didn't know this as an American, but he went deep into how but he was also respectful at the same time. He's talking from an Asian perspective, how back in 2015 is when he moved over here with his family. So, like, he's a pretty recent, very foreign individual, not bred and born here. So he understands very deeply, like, the Chinese culture. He dives into the rich Chinese culture and talks about, like, things about, like, how the Chinese view us. And I forget the Chinese word, but he says what the word is, and the description, like the translation for the word that they refer to as America, is beautiful country. And he doesn't mock it outright. He uses a lot of the Chinese culture and language to he paints a beautiful, like maybe undeserved beautiful perspective of what a lot of other countries view America as in a more positive sense. But then he takes all the stereotypes of everything that we are known for, that it makes us laugh, because the number one thing I know about comedy is that truth is often the most impactful thing to laugh at. Mm-hmm. And he points out so many truths about American culture, but then he also breaks it down by region. He says East Coast is way more intense than West Coast. And he expounds upon that by talking about each state motto, going from Tennessee to North Carolina to Texas all the way to California. And it's shocking because I've looked these things up. These are like the state mottos he was talking about are legit state mottos. Only quick examples I can think of is like the East Coast was pretty intense. I apologize, listeners, if I get this wrong, but I think it was either Tennessee or somewhere around Tennessee or Florida, somewhere near the East Coast. Their state motto was "Live free or die." Like, that's their state motto. Like, so extreme. And then he moved over to Texas and said, "Oh, we it's such a misnomer. It's such a misconception of what the state actually stands for based on their state motto. Everyone thinks everything's bigger in Texas." He calls out listeners in the audience. He's like, "You're wrong." Like, he's like, all these other things that Texas is known for. And he says their state motto is friendship. Right? Friendship. Nothing about anything anyone assumes about Texas has anything to do with friendship. And then he goes all the way to California. And I think one of the state mottos somewhere towards the West Coast was life life or live life and agriculture. It was somewhere in the Midwest towards the West. And he's like, that's not even a call to action. That's just a statement, and there's nothing intense about it. So the bottom line is he's like, America is crazy in a lot of ways, and the intensity of personalities goes from New York and the East Coast of always intense, always going, to slowly evolving to super laid back in California. As far as like personalities from state to state. And yep. Ronnie Ching's performed in all these different states throughout his comedy tour. So like he's actually firsthand experienced a lot of these, so it feeds into his comedy. Anyway, wrapping up, I don't want to spoil the rest of the show. It's a solid 60 minutes of hilarity. If you're an American or if you're super familiar with American stereotypes, you will laugh your ass off the entire special. Highly recommended. Ronnie Chang, Asian Comedian Destroys America. Check it out. It's on Netflix. I give that a solid 9 out of 10 easy. Lynn.
Our state motto is all for our country.
That's it. That all for our country is the motto?
Yeah, for Nevada.
For Nevada, guys.
All for our country.
You know, that's almost on the level of intensity that people over in the East Coast have for mottos. Like it's pretty close. It's almost an intermediate because that's very suggestible. It's very
I feel like I might be able to convince people to change it to motherland. Careful, Lynn. Careful. I'll agree with you.
But you're getting Nevada confused with Alaska.
Or Russia. If we're being honest.
I'm saying Alaska could possibly go,
all for our country.
Yeah.
Our country. Come on now.
Okay.
I'm not giving jets.
Real quick, because this episode is edging on the 1 hour mark, minus our breaks. We recorded 45 minutes of the hot topic. We're reviewing 16 minutes in now. I'm going to touch on a really big one that I think will work well for this episode, and then I'll throw it over to you guys for Birds of Prey. I'm going to cover Doctor Sleep. I've got another one. I'll review it later. It's an older film, but this one's a little more recent. Doctor Sleep is a direct sequel, a direct indirect sequel, if you will, and I'll explain why, on a Stephen King classic known as The Shining, the Jack Nicholson led produced film about a writer, journalist, if you will, a writer taking his family out to the middle of nowhere country to stay at a motel to help with his writing. And throughout that, this motel is filled with supernatural aspects that lead him into what eventually turns into a complete mental breakdown, to where his wife and his son are literally, their lives are in jeopardy once Jack Nicholson slips into this level of insanity that's influenced by supernatural horrors. Now, the movie for the current generation, I will say this, is a slow burn. The classic being The Shining. It's a little bit of a slow burn, but it still holds up. It still is a classic. I encourage anyone that hasn't seen The Shining to go check it out. However, Dr. Sleep takes an interesting dive into almost a secondary character that was only minimally featured in The Shining. So, I'm going to read the synopsis real quick. On highways across America, a tribe of people called the True Knot travel in search of sustenance. They look harmless, mostly old, lots of I pulled this from another site, but it kind of paints a good picture. Lots of polyester and married to their RVs. But as Dan Torrance knows, and teenager Abra Stone learn, the True Knot are quasi-immortal, living off the steam, quote, steam, that children with The Shining produce when they are slowly tortured to death. I know, super gruesome already. Haunted by the inhabitants of the Overlook Hotel, hashtag from The Shining, where he spent one horrific childhood year, Dan has been drifting for decades, desperate to shed his father's legacy of despair, alcoholism, and violence. Finally,
Wait, is Dan Danny?
Dan is the little boy on the tricycle riding through the hallway in The Shining.
Okay.
Yep. It is the little boy, the son of Jack Nicholson. Dan is Danny. He's trying to avoid his father's legacy of despair, alcoholism, and violence. Finally, he settles in a New Hampshire town, an AA community that sustains him, and a job at a nursing home where his remnant shining power provides the crucial final comfort to the dying. Aided by a prescient cat, he becomes Dr. Sleep. Air quotes there, Dr. Sleep. Then Dan meets the evanescent Abra Stone, a teenager, and it is her spectacular gift, the brightest shining ever seen, that reignites Dan's own demons and summons him to a battle for Abra's soul and survival. That is such a full-fledged picture of kind of the film as a whole. It's a long movie. It's over 2.5 hours, but at no point in time, I feel this was very much catered to the modern era of teenagers and early 20-year-olds as far as the pacing. It takes tons of flashbacks from The Shining all the way down to Danny riding through the hallway, to different crazy things he experienced of the supernatural. And it takes Ewan McGregor, who stars in this film, as the grown-up Danny. It's directed by Nicholas McCarthy, who's known for The Pact 2012. He did At the Devil's Door 2014, and a film called The Holidays in 2016. All three of those films are actually, despite their titles, The Pact, Devil's Door, maybe a little more horror, and The Holidays, are actually all horror flicks. A lot of them are supernatural based, And so I feel like this director, Nicholas McCarthy, really had a good grasp on what to do with this property. Now, this is actually based off of, surprise, surprise, another best-selling novel from Stephen King himself. He actually did write Doctor Sleep, which was intended as a sequel to The Shining. So this is based on a book that he wrote only a few years ago, I think 2014 maybe. Listeners down below, correct me in the comments. But the film overall was really good on the psychological, really good on the thrilling, and kind of had an almost over-the-top outrageous ending, which was very much in the vein of Stephen King. And we actually rented this. I don't think it's on Netflix or anything. I think we rented it from Amazon Prime. We definitely rented this. So it was only like $5 and a 2.5 hour evening of me and my wife's time. Super highly recommended. It keeps you going. It keeps you moving. I'd love to expound upon it at some point, but...
Score?
Oh, I didn't know what the little
I was like,
finger countdown was all about. I would love to go into this further at some point. Leave a comment down below if you'd like to hear a deeper discussion from me. Maybe I can get some of the nerds on board. But I give this a solid 8 out of 10. There were aspects that weren't masterful. It's something I would definitely rewatch. But I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's one of the better efforts from a Stephen King property. Guys, if you get a chance, at least go see it for yourself and give yourself your own opinion. That being said, long-winded enough. Guys, I'm going to throw it over to Nick and Matthew. These two have watched. I've seen the numbers and the stats. But I'm going to let them unfold this next review that I think all of us should check out for the sake of nerd culture. Can I let Nick, I would like you to go ahead, take off the lead, and you guys bounce back and forth.
Yeah. No, me and my wife decided to do a early Valentine's Day last week, and I gave her the option of what she wanted to do, and she wanted to go see that. And I'm like, cool. I'm not going to argue.
What title are we talking about, sir?
Yes. She's been excited about this character since the first movie. The first movie took a lot of mixed reviews, and the movie I'm talking about is Suicide Squad. This movie we're talking about follows one of the characters from that. The movie's called Birds of Prey: The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Yes. Beautifully long title, I might say.
Yeah. In short, Birds of Prey.
Or AKA DC's Deadpool with female lead.
There's a hot take. Move forward.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. The whole film, the reason why I loved it is the whole film is narrated by Harley Quinn as she's going through everything that happened, and just how like ooh shiny her brain is.
Yeah.
So I heard there's a lot of moving along. Wait a minute. Where did this come from?
That's
and
what I mean by ooh
some
shiny.
Backtracking, right?
Yeah.
In the narration. And a lot of people have told me that it's different from the air quotes unreliable narrator, which we get from the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, where he's literally effing insane and we don't know what to trust. But whereas in this one, she knows what she's talking about, but she gets ahead of herself and has to backtrack. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Very.
Okay.
But no, it was a fun ride. I was laughing the entire time, other than laughing and cringing and laughing and cringing.
Yeah.
And my wife enjoyed the hell out of it. She doesn't do much like fighting and stuff, but she was
okay.
giddy as a schoolgirl.
I was like, what did you cringe on? And then I realized from something recently I heard, I was like, oh yeah, this is rated R, and I heard there is some graphicness to aspects in this film, right? That's the cringe you're talking about?
Yes, like painful cringe. Like, oh,
Like,
Yeah,
oh
like,
wow, that leg's not supposed to bend that way.
yeah, and a hammer going straight to a guy's nuts, and yeah,
Oh.
and we're talking Harley Quinn's hammer, the nice big long like wooden mallet thing.
and it's not just Harley Quinn that made this movie so good. It's
No.
the other people in it that it's just the whole interaction of her and everyone else.
Real quick, can I, out of respect to the actors, list them off real quick for you guys, so you can
Please do.
expound upon them as a group?
Word.
So, Harley Quinn stars Margot Robbie. We've got Renee Montoya, played by Rosie Perez. We
You'll
have
remember Rosie Perez as Woody Harrelson's girl in White Men Can't Jump.
Yep, correct. That is her most recent one. We got Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Now, which one did she do? Was she the Black Canary or the Huntress?
What does it say as her name?
What are you talking about? Perez? Perez is
It does. Unfortunately,
That's a
this
Huntress.
doesn't. Okay,
she's the huntress.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead played as the Huntress. Unfortunately, my mobile search engine does not show the character portrayed.
You'll remember her as the evil person from
Well, she played the chick in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
yeah.
Yeah. She also played Lucy in Live Free or Die, and she also played Ramona in Scott Pilgrim
I was gonna say
Against
I
the
like
World.
Ramona. That's who I see her as all the time.
And wasn't she the bad girl in Sky High?
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, and her character was hilarious.
But okay, but also we've got Journey Smollett Bell, who I believe played the Black Canary.
You'd be correct.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
And Ewan
Yep.
McGregor
As
played a fantastic
Rogues Gallery villain in the
Black
Batverse.
Mask.
Yep, Black Mask. Roman Sionis.
Yep.
Black Mask.
Who's one of the Sionis family is one of the big
Families.
mob families of Gotham City.
Oh, quick question, just so I don't miss this one. Ella J. Bosco played Cassandra Cain. I don't know how heavy she was in, but isn't she supposed to be Batgirl in this one?
No.
No? Cassandra Cain.
I'm trying to think.
No?
Well, he's actually not wrong. Later, the Batwoman from the DC show is Cassandra Cain.
That's
Right,
the
right.
reference I'm making. I know they didn't explicitly explore that
Yeah,
in this
they didn't
movie.
talk about that, but that could very well be that. It's just we didn't talk about that in this. But she is a little pickpocket. So
Okay, and then the...
Oh, that's right.
Right. Okay, and then also...
I'm like, why does that name sound familiar? Oh yeah, she stole the diamond.
That's kind of a big plot point.
sorry.
Dang. Also, can I also point out that Chris Messina played Victor Zaz, who I believe was the cohort and super close partner to Black Mask,
Yes.
right? Right? There's a little bit of
they definitely dip
they're
into the-
quote unquote
the-
partners. Indirectly, not quite explicitly shown, maybe in this film, but
well, they kind of dip into the rogues gallery, and I think what you're implying is, like, life partners.
yeah, I'm talking they're gay. Like it's been all over the media. Black Mask
That
was
wasn't-
supposed to be potentially a gay character in the film.
It wasn't hinted in the film.
Right. Well, and early screenings said that was a very potential big deal, and then they did some cuts and re-edits. He's still a very close partner, but they don't explicitly say that.
And anybody that has any knowledge with Batman and the Rogues Gallery, Victor Zsasz is a serial killer.
Yeah, he's a serial killer.
Interesting. Right.
He was actually
He
a part of
carves like marks into his body for everybody he kills.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right.
He was a part of another mob family before being with the Black Mask. But that's another plot point that probably shouldn't go into.
Yes, we're
Right.
not gonna.
Hey, so yeah, this is not a full spoiler cast. This is just a hot take review, unfortunately. But
No worries.
leave a comment down below if you guys would like to hear a full blown breakdown. We can definitely get into that later. But so,
Hot take.
Nick, why don't you give us your rating and final hot take on it, and then let's hear Matt's hot take on the whole film.
My rating on this, I loved it, and there was some stuff that I definitely think they could have done better. So I will give it a 9 out of 10. It was still really good, and I definitely recommend anyone to watch it. But it's certain creative takes that they took kind of made it so I couldn't give it a 10 out of 10. But other than that, I love the movie, and if they make another sequel to it, I'll watch the hell out of it. Because
Definitely,
I like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. And I've seen better Harley Quinn, but she does good.
I've heard similar sentiments, and I mean the budget was only around 80 million, which is super low for a general action flick. Like usually you hear the 150, 200 million for huge budget sci-fi action flicks, but this one came handsomely under 80 million roughly, and it's still sadly not critically it's doing good. Audience wise it's doing good, but box office is still not super successful. They're still in the negative at the moment, at least at the time of this recording. And maybe it's the marketing, maybe that's why the cinemas have changed the title a little bit to try to sell more tickets. I don't know what it is. Matt, give us your hot take and score on this.
A breakfast sandwich.
Mm-hmm. Matthew, if you can recollect yourself, hot
hold on.
take and rating. Come on.
Made by Sal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That breakfast sandwich looked really good. Anyways,
Hot take and
so
rating, sir.
hot take. If you're going into this thinking that it's going to be like a regular DC film directly from like a comic book or something, do not go see this.
Whew, super hot and spicy.
But if you really enjoy Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, definitely go see this, because to me, I think Margot Robbie plays almost to a T like the Batman Harley Quinn animated TV series. Like that's the Harley Quinn like she portrays.
Tara Strong classic, huh?
Yes. And as far as like this, it's a ride throughout the whole movie. You're cringing at some points, especially if you're a guy. But most of the time you're like laughing and trying to figure out exactly like what Harley Quinn's talking about when she speaks so fast. You're just like, wait, what did she just say? And even like some of her colleagues are like, stay focused. Oh yeah, okay. My rating for it would be an 8 out of 10.
Two nerds give this an 8 out of 10.
Oh, he gave it a 9.
Oh, did you, Nick? Okay, my bad.
There was a couple slower scenes that could have been like probably dropped out of it or done better. That's why I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. But it's definitely worth the money to go see it. Yeah.
So, I think we can give this a Nerdentials rating of 8.5 out of 10. Generally speaking,
Ellen
granted,
agrees with
there's There's 2 votes here that can't weigh in yet, but at some point we'll come back and adjust accordingly. But guys, that is going to do it definitely for sure, as we are running late into our recording session. This, guys, we covered some Fox Disney discussions. We reviewed a couple films here tonight. Nerds, you can check us out across all forms of media. Podcast-wise, we are on Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio, and Google Play, and anywhere else, literally, that you get your podcast needs. Secondly, with the fingers and air quotes from all my cohorts here, you guys are also hopefully maybe checking us out on YouTube. Guys, we are now posting every week on Monday, 2 p.m. on the dot, guaranteed. Our weekly upload is Monday. There may be additional uploads in the week, but check back every Monday for your daily nerd needs. And the last but not least, number 1 spot, you can go, Lynn, and please air quote this for me. If you want to check out all our content across the YouTubes, the reviews, and the audios, go to nerdentialsmedia.com. That was beautiful. It's so in sync when I got someone here personally with me. Holy crap. Hashtag the future of Nerdentials. Let's see all 4 of us at a table together someday. Hashtag someday. Listeners, thank you. This has been your Nerdy Essentials podcast episode number 80. That's right, we finally hit number 80. For me, myself, and I, oh yeah, and Matthew, Nick, and Lynn. Hashtag split personalities. Forgive me. This has been your Nerdy Essentials. As always, nerds, we'll see you on the other side. I always give them like a 2-second delay.
My bad.
No, you're fine. You delayed and you're in person. I didn't talk it to you beforehand. It's alright. Hashtag mistakes we wish we never made. Kidding.